All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second Sajincast. Today's episode is going to be about Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. We just had the multiplayer reveal about a month or so ago now. Sorry, we're a little late on this. A lot of stuff is going on. This time around, I'm joined by my friend Flo Shakur here. Say hello.
Hello.
All right, and first of all, we're gonna talk a little bit about our origins within Call of Duty. I started out playing Call of Duty World at War and Black Ops 1, and from there I pretty much played every single one, and Black Ops 2 is my personal favorite to date. And as for you, Flo?
Let's see. My debut started about Modern Warfare 3, and then I think I took a detour with Battlefield Bad Company 2 until Black Ops 2 came out, and that was the most recent Call of Duty that I played. And I've mostly been active on PC, although I only played Modern Warfare 3 on the console, and I played Black Ops 2 on both console and PC.
All right. Since you brought up consoles, I'll go ahead and say that I've mainly played on PlayStation 3 and Wii U, and it's and we've both said in the past that Black Ops 2 is our personal favorite Call of Duties, or at least the one we've played a lot. And
Yeah.
it's kind of good to see a lot of similarities we're seeing within Advanced Warfare in terms of Black Ops 2 because of what they're doing with the advanced picking create a class system now, as well as what they're doing for the competitive community. And before we get to that, we're going to talk a little bit about the campaign and the setting of the game. The first little mini subject here is Sledgehammer still giving us the Call of Duty experience with just a new twist like they assured us they are? In all these interviews and stuff they've done in the past, they said they're trying to innovate while still staying true to the series. And they want to add new mechanics and everything, but they said at base value the game is still supposed to have that Call of Duty feel that we all know and love. And so, Flo, based on what you've seen, do you think that we're getting that this time around?
Well, seeing as how the original story before Advanced Warfare had to do with fighting what was essentially World War III, this is a completely different take because obviously it's jumping forward to the future, and as far as we know of the campaign setting, all we're getting from the trailer so far is that the terrorists basically attacked 5 nuclear things, wiped out a lot of the infrastructure, and because of that, the governments no longer have control over the armies and they're taken over by the corporations. Now, I think that that in itself is a new take because, for the most part, these bands have always been owned in some way, shape, or form by an arm of the military that belongs to the government. So, seeing these military companies privately owned, I think that that's going to add a new twist to the story. So again, yeah, that does fill the twist. And from what I've seen, though, it is going to have the same sort of, I guess, as you could say, crazy characters that it's always had. And it's going to have the same form of, what made Black Ops 2 good as far as the battlefields and the weapons. At the same time, though, I really do like some of the innovations that they're going to have for the game. When I first heard them, I thought that they sounded really corny and just didn't come off as Call of Duty-like from the sound of it. Because, I mean, when I saw, like, the boost jump, the first thing that came to mind was Tribes Ascent. Because I have played that game. But in a way, it looks like it's a much more controllable version. It's not as off the wall as Tribes Ascend was. And they managed to actually integrate it well into the gameplay. So, but that is kind of getting more into the multiplayer. As far as the campaign goes, there isn't too much yet because it's just a trailer so far. But I am interested in seeing how the gameplay is going to play into the storyline. So I guess we're just going to have to see when the game comes out, maybe get some footage and see what happens.
Right, and I played a bit of Tribes Ascend in the past too. That game was wild. But I agree with you in Advanced Warfare here. The whole exosuit movement, it seems a lot more controlled, a lot more natural to the setting. Um, Somewhat regarding the exosuit here, and a bunch of other technology that's being shown off. In other interviews, Sledgehammer Games has said that they're trying to make this game high tech but grounded, in that everything is supposed to be believable, and they don't want it to quite be at that point where it's considered future or futuristic. And so, what's your take on that? Do you think that they're at that, or are we looking at the future here, basically?
I think that honestly, a lot of the stuff that they have mentioned has been in testing. We have seen it on TV. The exosuit has been proven. Now, has the exosuit been shown in a format like this before? The answer is no. The exosuit has always been much clunkier, much bigger. And as far as the jetpack technology, do we have it? Yes, but again, is it as refined and controllable as it is in the game? No. So what I would say is, unless they're hiding this technology somewhere at like a military base, I'm going to say that this might be the not too far future. Like, we're talking maybe once they've gotten the patents and they've worked out the bugs. So maybe like what, 10, 20 years from now? So we're not talking super far, super futuristic. We're just talking like to the point where they've worked out the kinks. I really don't think that they can work the kinks out of stuff like that within 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Or even today. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. But if we're talking on the sense of future, like the far future, no. This is something that, like I said, I think within like a few decades that we could see this sort of thing. Because it has been shown in even like news channels will have shown it. So we're not too far from it. It just hasn't been perfected yet. And the way that they utilize it, again, I don't think that it's possible now. I think it might be possible eventually, but it's cool to see this regardless because it adds a whole new layer of play to the game that wasn't there before. And to me, as long as they can add stuff without cutting into the quality of the game, and as long as there's not too many glitches or bugs, I think that this is going to be the breath of fresh air that the Call of Duty series has needed for a long time.
Right, and to reword that question from before, they did say that this is a couple of decades into the future, and
Okay.
it's supposed to be at that point where like they've done their research and they want people to look at this technology and be like, oh yeah, that's believable. It's going to be like that in in the year that they're describing. So do you think they're hitting the mark with that?
Well, like pretty much what I said in my rant, it's like I guessed about a couple of decades, and you're basically confirming that with what you were saying. So, yeah, definitely. I think that this is something that is completely believable. But I'm also happy that they're keeping this to the ground because obviously too much airplay has always been, in my opinion, kind of annoying in shooter games. Like, as long as the air is like minimum and it's useful and not too showy or over the top.
Right. All the aircraft stuff I've seen in the trailers looks like it's from cinematics and not actual gameplay. And so that's kind of good to see. And all right, now I guess we can go to the multiplayer reveal.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, regarding that, did you have any concerns after watching that? Were you worried about anything that wasn't there? Or there's something you wish they focused on a little more?
I'm going to give Sledgehammer the benefit of the doubt because the only other game that they made was Modern Warfare 3. And I'm going to say it for the record because I've never said it in audio. I hated Modern Warfare 3 with a passion, and it did not help that I'm not good at the console, and that was the version that I played it on because those maps were very claustrophobic, and they were very sort of hallway, very open hallway, not very many places to hide. So hopefully this is what I'm hoping for, because I obviously haven't seen all the maps and the complete capability of the game. But I'm hoping that they've taken into consideration that, less of the hallway effect. We need more turns and twists. We need more options so that you're not caught with your butt showing when someone turns the corner, because that was a huge problem with Modern Warfare 3, and that's something that they've got to work on. But if that's something that they have in mind for this game, that's probably going to be one of the things that's going to make me particularly happy. And then the other thing I'm concerned about is obviously it looks great when they run the demo, but is it going to run that good when it hits? Because obviously these games have always had major glitches on launch, and that's another big concern. But obviously we won't know until it launches, because that's just how it is. But I'm going to assume that it's not going to be a clean launch. It usually never is. But I'm hoping that the glitches aren't horrible, and I hope that it has nothing to do with any of the major mechanisms. I mean, if I could see it being maybe a problem with some of the jump mechanism involving the exosuit, and that's something I can work with. I mean, I don't need to jump all the time, but if it's something crucial having to do with the ground play, then that's probably going to cheese me off a bit. But again, that's something I can't really rate right now. That's something that I'm going to have to see when the game launches. As far as what's in the game, they pretty much brought back all the old favorites, and they have new stuff. So again, all they're really doing is they're upgrading the way the weapons look, and they're adding new ones, which that's always good when you can add on, as long as those weapons aren't completely overpowered and they're properly balanced. So as far as concerns of what's not there, obviously it's going to be anything that we're not going to be able to see till the game launches anyway. But for what I'm seeing, it looks like a pretty solid game.
Right, and I agree with you about the maps, and from what I've heard regarding their map design, it sounds very, very close to Black Ops 2, where they're lane-based, and it should be good, and every big corridor should have lots of clutter, so there shouldn't be a concern there. And if it helps Sledgehammer's case for you at all, word is that in Modern Warfare 3, Sledgehammer made the campaign only, while Infinity Ward did the multiplayer. That's what I heard.
Okay,
Anyway.
yeah, because the actual campaign mode was not that bad. In fact, my friend actually said that he actually loved the campaign mode of Modern Warfare. He just couldn't stand the multiplayer. And I agree with him on that, because the story mode for the campaign was good. So
Then again, it's a little easier to appease people in campaign.
and again, it's not even supposed to be the big thing with these games, because usually the whole reason you're making this stuff is to appeal to the multiplayers. And you'll have a lot of the famous critics basically say, hey, why are you getting a multiplayer game for the campaign mode? And I'm thinking, well, obviously, you might want to play it just to see. That was probably my big beef with Black Ops 2. I like the idea behind the campaign mode, but then they had the whole let's play chess with the soldiers crap, and that pissed me off. I hated that. That was stupid. And the fact that you had to do that to get the best ending was a little horse crap. I thought it was stupid, and I hope they don't do that again, because, I'm sorry, Call of Duty's not meant to be a chessboard. It's meant to be a game where you go in, you're a one-man army, basically, as far as the campaign's concerned, or you have a squadron that you're using, but it's not supposed to be a chessboard. And I'm hoping that Sledgehammer learned from that, because that was a really stupid addition. The rest of the campaign was solid. It's just getting past those, it was just, hated this.
Yeah, and from what I remember, Modern Warfare 3's story, it was just non-stop, relentless action. Shit was hitting the fan in that story mode. That was the grand culmination of everything that was going on. And there was just no stop to it, and it was a lot of fun. Alright, let's see. Okay, so first real subject we're going to focus on about the multiplayer reveal is we got to talk about the exosuit and all the features that come with it. Um, First of all, what I'm a little concerned about is the verticality that comes with it now. As I've worded it here, basically juking on steroids. Because you have the boost, jump, boost, dodge, slide, slam, boost, fap, whatever. It's all there. And personally, I think this is going to increase like the learning curve that's required with the game. Because now it's not just run around or camp and just aim down sights and shoot people. You're going to have to look in every single facet and every little niche in a map to find people. They're going to be all over the place, going to be under you, over you. It's going to be crazy, and just like all the different all the different exosuit moves that you have to master now. It seems like it's going to be crazy. So what do you think? Is the exosuit going to make the game harder?
I would imagine so. For some people, it might make it easier, obviously, because some people learn with different curves. Obviously, you have certain games where this sort of thing, believe it or not, as far as the movement type, this is not the first shooter series that has actually made use of sidestepping and boosts. I like to bring up a personal favorite from a long time ago, Armored Core. Yeah, that used it kind of. It wasn't to the same crispness that this game is going to be doing it to, but for anybody who's an Armored Core fan, this is probably going to be like a godsend because if they played it long enough, they'll probably be used to the mechanics, so this probably won't be too hard for them. But anybody who hasn't done any kind of jet propulsion style shooting game, this is probably going to be a whole new learning experience for them. So I'd say not only is it going to increase the curve, I think it's going to increase the interest. I think a lot of the long-term Call of Duty fans are going to be looking forward to this. And I think a lot of the underdogs are going to love it too, because the ones who are always getting pegged by the ones who just run up in your face and unload, they're not going to have the same problem. They're actually going to have something that's going to give them the edge that they need to finally compete. But it's using those effectively and mastering that on top of your FPS skills that's really going to see just how good you are. Like I say, it's going to take it to a whole new level, and I really do look forward to it.
Yeah, and I agree in that in Advanced Warfare, all this maneuvering looks really fine-tuned and really balanced and really controlled. And it seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. And on the flip side, if like the Call of Duty faithfuls don't really like it, get really tired of it, they did announce later on through like Charlie Intel and some other websites that there will be a playlist where you can play the modes without the exosuit, and you just have the regular movement capabilities like in previous games. But my concern with that is that maybe through some like strange sequence of events that like the game is going to become exclusively that, and like no one will do the exoskeleton modes, which would really be unfortunate.
Well, I don't think they're ever going to get rid of the exosuit completely. I do think, however, that there's a possibility that they would make modes without it, just like Black Ops 2 gave you options where you didn't have the airstrikes, for instance, which was a big relief for me because a lot of people would make combos in such a way that they could get so many kills that their actual special strikes would end up comboing into each other, and they would just rack up the kills like crazy. So having the hardcore mode where it didn't have those kill streaks was great. I loved it because at that point, those guys that were relying so much on the kill streaks, it became a crutch because they didn't have it, so I could kill them easily, and there was nothing they could do about it. So maybe that's just going to be the case with the exosuit. I'm guessing some people will think that it's going to end up becoming a crutch, so that when they play, this version of the game where it lacks all that excess stuff, that people are going to get so used to it, it's going to make them weaker at the actual FPS aspect, and the people who are good at the normal FPS aspect are going to dominate in that mode. Now, whether the tournaments are going to appeal to the exosuit depends on how well the exosuit is patched, in my opinion. If the exosuit is patched well, it should be enough to make competitive. But if it's a problem and it glitches a lot and it's just not working, they're probably going to fall back on using the normal FPS style. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, just a wait and see attitude right now. That's about all we can hope for. Now, there's all this stuff around the exosuit that you can pick. You have abilities like the hover, cloak, shield, and the trophy system and the launcher that are attached to it. And then you even have perks that increase the battery life and other exo traits. So, and personally, I find it very entertaining how when you melee kill someone else in the multiplayer, they go flying. It's pretty hilarious to watch.
Well, from what I've seen so far, if this is like most shooter games, these abilities will most likely be incredibly limited at the beginning, and they'll have to be something that you work at. I don't exactly know how much leeway they're going to have, but I would imagine that they're either going to have to be balanced to where they're all pretty decent or kind of underpowered at the beginning. Because obviously, that's just the rule of every FPS. If you make this stuff overpowered at the beginning, it's not going to be fun for anybody who's just getting into the game at all. So, I wouldn't want a guy who can have like a 10-second shield cloak run up on me and stab me. You know, it's like it would make more sense for the cloak to start off at like maybe 3 to 5 seconds. And at that point, it would be less for stealth kills and more for getting past a heavily fortified area so you can like get to another part of the map without getting shot down, basically. And I've always had moments like that where I wish I could do that. Because there's like times where it's like, oh shit, I have to get to the other side. And then I'm like realizing I have to go in front of the kill zone to do it. And I'm like, no, I'll go a different way, but it takes longer. And then the action moves. With the cloak, it'll get you to where the action is, and it won't put you in danger unless you uncloak and you're in the battle, and then someone kills you legitimately. But in my opinion, it gives you more opportunity to get somewhere safely. As far as the other powers, I can see how hover is a environmental advantage. The shield can be pretty handy. Launchers, I mean, those are just going to be standard. They always have been at every Call of Duty. I don't know if they're going to be used for the same purpose that they have in other Call of Duties, but if they are, then great, whatever. If you can use it for something else, that's fine too. As long as you're not like, given like 10 pieces of rockets that you could just send at people, because it's always been like limited to like 3, because obviously it's for a special condition. And again, that's fine. They might give you more if they do energy, but they might also have sort of the stipulation that you can only use it like one big shot, and then it takes some time to recharge where you can use it again. And that would make sense. Maybe like I'd say a 2-minute wait time at minimum, and something higher if necessary. Because obviously there's going to be spammers who will use the rocket launcher too much for energy-wise. So they'll either have to make it a long charge time, or they're going to have to make the energy rockets weaker. Do you have an opinion on that?
Well, as far as I know about the Exo launcher, I believe it takes the place of your lethal and tactical grenades. And you fire your lethal and tactical grenades out of, like, the Exo arm. And so I believe it would be based on, like, however many you're carrying, based on like the pick 13 system and how much you choose to take, whether it's 2 lethals and 1 tactical, or 1 lethal, 2 tacticals,
So why do you need the launcher to launch the grenades? I guess I don't understand that part. You've always thrown them in the past. I guess the only benefit I see is that you can attach it to a place further away than usual, but I'm not sure if most people think like that in advance. I guess you can see some strategy coming out of that. but I don't know. I guess we're going to have to see what
First of
comes from
all,
that as well.
first of all, it's just kind of built into the suit, so like you have the suit on, why not use it? And second of all, one use I can see for it is that it reduces the time of the animations. Because in the past you'd have to like unpin the grenade and stuff. Now you just raise your arm up and it shoots it for you.
That's true. I can see that.
So it's going to be a little more quicker, a little more fluid. That's the advantage I see there. Alright, and now the next topic. We're getting some Battlefield-style supply drops now. Well, Battlefield called them battle packs, but for us they're supply drops. And this is pretty interesting. I mean, what do you think of the supply drop feature?
I'll be honest, it's probably the part that I didn't really get a good look at, but if it's anything like the supply drops, because believe it or not, there were some minor parts, like minor supply drops in past Call of Duties, because you could actually get those as kill streaks. But I guess in this case, it sounds like it's just going to be natural in the campaign. As far as multiplayer, I'm not sure. But I figure since it's already technically been part of the Call of Duty series, to me this is nothing new. It's just the way that it's being utilized is different. And again, if it adds a bit of fun and statistics to the weapons, gives it a bit more customization and ways to like make the combat interesting. Again, it's always a good thing. I just don't know if it's going to make it overpowered or not. I know sometimes the guns in the campaigns can be kind of underpowered because I know in the last campaign that I didn't really like the power of the guns. They felt really wonky and took a long time to kill anything. So I'm hoping that if we're talking campaign, we're going to get some decent weapons from these drops. As far as the multiplayer, though, not sure. I know they brought back kill streaks, obviously, much to my chagrin, but it's always going to be part of the Call of Duty series. It's just something that I'm going to have to buck up and deal with, but I don't know. Maybe supply drops will be part of the kill streaks again. Maybe it'll be an independent feature this time. I guess we'll have to see on that, too. Probably would have helped if I watched a bit more, but again, you know about that. You could probably cover the gap for me on it.
Well, the supply drops, they seem a lot like what I've related to them most is the battle packs in Battlefield 4 and I think Battlefield 3, but I don't quite remember. But what you're getting from them is like customization options for your character, and a couple of other interesting things. The first of them being, it looks like you're getting care packages through this supply drop thing, which it seems to me like you don't earn care packages anymore. They're just sort of like you can get them through these supply drops and then just call them in during matches whenever you want. That's just what I'm getting through this, and that sounds very strange to me. I don't know about you.
I will admit that one of the fun strategies that I liked about the Call of Duty series is when you could booby trap the care packages so that if the enemy tried to steal it, it would blow them up. I thought that was funny. I don't know if you could do it in this game, but if you can, it'll be a riot. Otherwise, not really too big of a deal.
In Modern Warfare 3, where you get that that support kill streak, where you just drop a care package and it's already rigged like that. It's like only for the purpose of blowing people up.
Yeah, it's such a troll thing.
was pretty great. I enjoyed using that. Another thing that you get through these supply drops, and here's the thing I'm really concerned about, because this could be like game changing for Call of Duty here, is you get weapons through these. You get unique weapons that have individual stats. And so what I'm worried about, if this is going to become like games like, I'm sorry I don't have a better example here, but like Kid Icarus Uprising on the 3DS, where you can be using a weapon and you can have an opponent that uses the same weapon, but they have completely different stats.
I think that they would either make the drops happen often enough that everybody would have a fair advantage, or they would make the stats reasonable and balanced out. Because I don't think they're going to increase the stats to a ridiculous level. I think they're going to tweak out the math correctly. I mean, we could be proven wrong. We could be surprised and end up having somebody who claims that they have a gun with the most ridiculous stats ever. But I'm almost fairly certain that, Sledgehammer is taking extra good care of this game from the looks of it. So that should not be a problem. So if it has one or two really strong stats, then the other stats will probably be balanced out, not be so good. And that's what I'm hoping for. Because obviously, not everyone's the same. Not everyone's going to have the same experience. So someone getting one particularly OP gun while everybody else gets an okay gun just wouldn't be fair or balanced. And in a multiplayer game, that is important.
Right, and it's also a matter of identification, though, too, where it's like, if you see someone using a gun and he's doing really well with it, and you come to the realization that you want to use that gun too, but then it's not good for you because you don't have the same build on it that he got through a supply drop. And it's just, it's really strange for Call of Duty to do that, because it usually does the system where the guns have particular stat sets that you can change through attachments and stuff, but the base stats are the same.
Seems to me like the game is trying to make each player more independent upon their own knowledge of the game mechanics than they are on trying to borrow off of other people. And if that is the case and they manage to do it well, then that is a really good way of basically taking people up to speed in the first-player shooter world. Because obviously, games like Tribes of Sin just kind of bombed because people were not ready for such a high-end, difficult game. But if this could be the game that bridges the gap between the more casual shooters and the more hardcore shooters, then that would be an excellent opportunity. And to me, having it to where you have to try to overcome your weaknesses with your strengths and build something that's going to work for your situation, I think is going to prove your ingenuity as a player, and I think it's going to show a lot more what you're capable of. So, again, it could be a great opportunity, but I'm going to agree with you. There's a possibility that it could also end up blowing up in people's faces. So let's hope it's not the latter.
Right, and that your argument there kind of harkens back to what we were saying about the learning curve of the game, and it's become more than just knowing the new controls with the exo abilities, but also knowing the game's new mechanics and how the weapon system works now, and all those other things. And another concern I'm having with these gun supply drops is you see that the weapons have like unique names too. Like they'll have the default name, and then like the one I'm looking at here, it says Ball 27, which I'm assuming is the regular name of the gun, and then it has this attachment to it. It says Obsidian Steed Elite. And so I'm thinking if like all these unique versions of the guns are going to come with their own camos, and whether or not it's taking like our own independent personalization out of the equation here. So like to simplify that, it's looking like we won't be able to choose what camo we want on our gun anymore. And I'm not entirely sure about that, but that's just the impression I'm getting from this.
I guess it could be said that some players might get a little frustrated because you have the players with the gold guns, and you might get the players who say, okay, we get it, you killed a lot of people and you're really good at this game, you don't need to flaunt it. Because I'm sorry to say, every time I've seen the players with the gold guns, they really do act arrogant in their movements. Like, you can tell that they played the game 100 times, and like that color is like sort of a symbol of accomplishment, but it like, I guess it acts as sort of like a demoralization for people who aren't quite up to that yet. So my thoughts on this is probably that they don't want the low-end players who are just entering the game to get demoralized by the people who started and got pretty high pretty quick. They want the camo to not mean something. They just want it to mean something for like maybe the label. But otherwise, I think the whole point of it is that they want people to not have to worry about, oh shit, this guy has a gold gun, he's gonna kill my ass. They want to worry more about, okay, there's a bunch of guys on the map, and they're the ones I have to kill, so I'm gonna do my best, and if I make mistakes, then I can work around it. But with the camos, when people think gold, they think, oh shit, it doesn't matter what I do, I'm gonna get my ass kicked. So you see what I mean? It's kind of like a psychological thing. And yeah, I guess there's a certain tactic to that. But again, it tends to be a bit too effective from what I've seen. So maybe they decided that, like I said, having that camo be a selection and having the high-end camos be sort of debilitating to the not so skilled people, they felt like it caused too much of a rift where there was too many long-term veterans who were good and not enough people who were stuck on the other side of the fence that were able to really progress. So maybe that's part of it. It's part of the psychological value, because I don't really see any other point for removing it, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there, and actually the way you put that actually made me like this scenario a whole lot more. Because I remember like all the times I'd be playing Black Ops 2 and I'm trying to kill people and do my best with my gun, and then I get killed by someone who has the same gun but has it on diamond. And it's just demoralizing to me a lot of the time. And so just taking the personalization out of it, taking that sense of accomplishment out of it, it's kind of enlightening, and it's not going to be as much of a problem because you won't really know what level the player's on by just looking at the gun anymore. And it was the camo system as a whole was still kind of bad in Black Ops 2, in that there was a certain progression to it. And Modern Warfare 3 had the same issue, where you had, for at least a set amount of time in Black Ops 2, you had to unlock the camos in a certain order. In Ghosts, they kind of fixed that, and I believe in some previous Call of Duties, the case has been different, where all the camos are there and just like, hey, do this certain thing if you want that camo. And the option is just there available to you. And that was a better way to do it. So, like, despite having gold or something, you couldn't really tell what level of accomplishment they were at based on what the camo was. But this is taking that idea in a whole different direction. This is removing the personalization to it and just leaving what camo you get to chance. And it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I've said my piece on it for the most part. That's just the way I see it. I don't really see any other reason for why the camos would be that way, unless we haven't seen everything. And maybe you can change the camos once you have the weapons. But again, it is more likely that if what you're saying is true, it's most likely for the psychological aspect.
Right, and this is just my assumption here. This is just my observation that, like, based on these supply drops and the different names for weapons, I'm assuming that the camos are now attached to those names and things like that. But that could very well not be the case, and we just don't know. All right, and the next subject, they added a new weapon class of energy weapons. Which isn't entirely new. I mean, we've seen that kind of thing before in other games, but it's new to Call of Duty.
So, again, the thing that comes to mind when I think energy weapons and dodging with jetpacks is Armored Core. This is probably, like I said, this game draws a lot of inspiration from it, and I don't really see how it could, since a lot of the guns are trying to take a more futuristic aspect. Of course, the big difference is obviously that this is more meant for human-sized people, so there's going to be a lot more human-sized dodging, hiding, going around corners, over bridges, and stuff like that. It's not going to be like the gigantic mech battles like Armored Core, obviously. So yeah, it says here that they don't require ammo, but they have a certain threshold before overheating. Again, Armored Core did that too. Now, that does make me wonder, are they going to have energy blades like Armored Core? I mean, that would be like the icing on the cake right there, if that's what ended up happening, because you have, like, your dagger, Well, then that makes me wonder, well, the dagger has a certain range. It's kind of short. But what if you had an energy blade that was pretty damn long? Then you'd have a little bit more of a range advantage. So it'd be kind of like an increase for the dagger, turning it into a sword. So you could actually stab people from a longer distance, or you could slice through them or something like that. I mean, I could see that being kind of fun, adding a new layer of play. But at the same time, I would imagine it would use a good chunk of your energy because, again, you'd have to use a lot of energy to make the blade able to cut through somebody. But that would be a fun way of using it. Other energy ideas, again, I haven't seen all of them yet. But since I have a general idea of the concept, I'm going to assume that the stronger the weapon, the quicker you'll burn through your threshold, obviously.
Right.
But the weaker it is, the less you'll use.
Right. That only makes sense for balancing purposes. And
does that tie in to the exosuit's battery, though? I'm wondering.
No. That's the energy guns. They have like their own heat canisters. Or
okay, yeah. See, that's unique because with Armored Core, they actually linked the jetpacks with the energy weapons, and that was stupid. So seeing them separate in this particular game, I think will add a whole new layer of strategy and combos. So that's going to be good.
Okay. And when I think of like when I think of these like energy weapons, I don't know if you've played this game, but it takes me back to like Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, and that's meant to be futuristic, and you'd have like a lot of these guns that you'd have like infinite ammo, but they had a overheating threshold. And so it's not a new concept. It has been done a lot, but it is new to Call of Duty itself.
I can imagine, since it's not on the jetpack, though, if used correctly, you could probably end up being quite overpowered. Because one of the biggest problems that you had was if you died really often, ammo was never really a problem. But if you didn't die very much and you were really good at the game and you ran out of ammo, you'd have to usually rely on your dagger. So for the players that are really good and they ran out of the ammo of their normal guns, having those energy weapons to fall back on is just going to end up rewarding those streak players instead of punishing them because now they have to die because they don't have a gun anymore.
Right, and let me bring up an alternate scenario to that because this Steam game Dino D-Day that I play a lot, you have these characters with these big like LMG type guns that do have the overheating threshold, but at the same time they have like a max ammo reserve. So it's like you can be shooting and like not overheating and stuff, but you only have a max of like 300 bullets. Or say it's like, if it's like the Pyro's flamethrower in TF2 where it has a set amount of ammo. But if you had to, if the flamethrower were to overheat or something, it's something similar to that as like a counter scenario to that could be used for balancing. Where it's not exactly infinite ammo that we're dealing with. Does that make sense?
I don't really see that being the case if they're going to be using energy, because remember, you even said it in the notes that it doesn't usually require ammo. So if that, it's like, I think a percentage rate would probably also be considered an ammo in that regards. So I'm going to say that it's probably leaning more towards a set energy supply, and it will generate depending on how strong it is.
Okay. We'll just have to wait and see. Alright, on to the next topic. Now we're dealing with score streaks. And some big things have been happening. First of them being that kill streaks are now part of the create a class system, which was pick 10 and is now pick 13. Because the 3 extra slots are for kill streaks. Which is pretty interesting, and I'm actually pretty happy about this change because I foresee people going like super hardcore and putting like a ton of attachments and perks and like you have the exo ability and the exo launcher stuff in there too. And I see people doing like all that and doing wild cards and everything, but not having kill streaks, because that is a possibility now.
It really depends, because you have to understand that back in Black Ops 2, in the usual mode, a lot of people would purposely get score streaks that combo into each other. And my big dread is that those score streak combo whores are going to return with a hateful passion. And having that extra 6 slots for kill streaks, in my opinion, might cause more disaster, especially if it's a person who has been dependent on these combos in the past. Or if they're already good at combos, this will just make it a lot easier for them to start those score streaks up by killing their opponents. And like I said, I have a feeling that ultimately, unless people prefer more attachments, with certain players, it's almost going to be guaranteed that we're going to be seeing more score streaks. So, do I think that giving that much power to players who have been so reliant on them in the past is a good thing? I'm going to honestly say no. I'm not looking forward to the idea. I think that having the access to score streaks on top of having more access to attachments is just going to make players who are already really hard to touch that harder to kill. So that might add a layer of difficulty for reaching the next tier. So hopefully there's a way to balance it out by maybe being just that much better with your character, using your exosuit to avoid those sort of deaths that you'd otherwise get killed by. But like, I don't see it being good because, like I said, giving them the more capacity to kill streak is just asking for a lot of trouble, in my opinion. I've never enjoyed being the victim of consistent kill streak combos. That's always annoyed me because it feels like they're not really using skill at that point. It feels like it's just a ride-along cinematic that pretty much kills stuff for free. And it's so stupid. It's just so brainless. I like it better when people can just kill with their skill. Just run and gun, nail that guy in the corner, nail the guy around the corner, nail the guy on the roof, all in one swift move, like there was in the video. There was this guy who was just running around getting all these combos, and it's like, I want to see more of that. That is cool. When you can rely completely on yourself and you don't need the kill streaks, the score streaks to be good.
Right. And in the past, I remember playing like Black Ops 1 and World at War, because I think those were the only ones that, well, Black Ops 2 has it too, but like no one ever uses it. But how people would get like the dogs all the time in multiplayer, and it was just so annoying. Like you join a late match and you're on like a team that's losing by like 50 kills because someone on the enemy team did a combo with like an attack helicopter and attack dogs, and it's just like, what's even the point? And on your side of things, where you're worried about people getting more score streaks, something else kind of contributing to that is that part of this Pick 13 system leaves 4 slots open for score streaks now. But in terms of balancing them, I think there's something that helps out with that. There's this fact now where you can customize the score streaks themselves, like the individual ones. And the only way I see doing it is you attach add-ons to it. But what these add-ons do, while they add cool aspects to the kill streak, they make the score requirement higher. And so you'll be seeing more of these like higher end score streaks, but since they require so many points, you might see less overall.
It does make me think at that point if they're going to even bother trying to add the cool aspects, because people who want those easy kill streak combos, they probably won't pick it, which will probably mean that I'm going to respect the people who will put those bonuses on, because it means that if they can kill that much before they make the score streak valid, then that means that they probably earned it at that point. But the ones who are just getting like the 3 that leads into the 5, and then it leads into the 10 or some crap like that, those are the ones that piss me off. Because at that point, it's like you're barely playing now. You're like, you get the 3 kills and you get easy streak after that. It's stupid. That's what I don't want to see. I don't want to see these people who could just pick the easiest score streaks and get free kills for almost no effort. I want to see an actual effort to earn score streaks. Because at that point, then I won't feel so bad about them killing me with score streaks, because if they have to really push to earn them, then I can kind of see it being like, okay, clap, 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 you did a great job, you deserved it. Instead of, oh my god, not this shit again.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And personally, I really liked back in the day where they had death streaks, because those made a whole lot more sense to me than kill streaks, because those are the people that need a lot more help. The people that aren't doing well, not the people who can get like frickin' 25 kills on their own without dying. So it's like, I mean, I understand like they need to be like, okay, good job, you can get a lot of kills, but you don't need like the most overpowered stuff in the game that doesn't need to be given to them. But the release of Ghosts last year, they pretty much realized that like all of the quote unquote good people that play Call of Duty hate the death streaks, because they're buzzkills pretty much, but that's what they're supposed to do. But I don't think we'll be getting them anymore because the good players don't like it.
Of course, the good players don't like it because it means that they don't get to be god moders anymore. It's like, the way I see it is, if you're so damn good, you'll get over it.
Yeah, it's just, and it's just, it would be at this point where if I was developing a Call of Duty game, I would just say go play bare bones. But it's really unfortunate for me to be playing on the Wii U where like no one plays bare bones, which is really unfortunate. And because that would just solve everything if they just got rid of the streaks. But I understand it's really important, but there's got to be a better way.
Like I said, I love bare bones too. Trust me, if I could play on that all day, I totally would. It was one of my favorite modes too, because it was all about skill at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm hoping this is at least a step in the right direction though for balancing the kill streaks, giving them all these cool options but making it cost more. And so you could have something that's like, you can even make it so like it looks like 400 points to get a UAV, and then you could put like every single thing on it that you can, and it could end up being like 1,000 points to get a UAV.
What kind of crap would you possibly need to put 1,000 points into if you're a UAV?
I don't know. What I'm looking at here, what I've seen, you don't really see the customization stuff for that. They only showed it for one thing, the Warbird, or no, they showed the stuff for the turret.
Now, I'm going to say this, that there's a good way that they can make the UAV really effective, because I'm thinking about this and it would be totally wrong and piss off so many people. But you know how there was like a special power that it could make you basically immune to any kind of sky detection? Well, I also know that in some situations you could actually get abilities that would counter each other abilities out. But in that particular case, you could not get an ability that countered that out. So what I'm thinking is that the points that you would put into the UAV could be essentially to counter out effects like that. So even if a person does have that, if they put enough points into it, then the UAV would be able to say, oh yeah, those guys that are stealthed all the time, well, they're right there.
Right.
Because you killed so many people to get to that point, you earned it at that point. It wasn't just handed to you, and you didn't just get to detect these people for 400 points. You would have to spend 1,000, but again, you earned it at that point. So that's fine. That's a great way to balance out and reward people, because I mean, I'd love it if I could kill 10 people, then use a UAV that basically says, oh, you're hidden? Well, screw you. You're not hidden anymore.
Right, you get something that counters the thing that counters the UAV. It's counterception.
Yeah.
And another awesome thing now is they have co-op score streaks, where you can basically mooch off of a teammate's score streak by just looking up at it, and you just use some tablet little thingy, and you get to latch onto it, and you get to be like a side gunner. And that they showed for the Warbird, where one of them got the Warbird score streak, which is kind of like a gunship, and they were shooting people with it, and then a teammate just looked up at it, got this tablet thing out, and then he was controlling like a minigun on the side of it, and was helping out with it.
For a minute there, when you said mooch, I thought that it's going to be like, oh, you got enough of our score streak? Yeah, well, I'm going to take that from you. It's like, that would probably piss off people who aren't pro.
Oh,
but the way you're saying it is that basically they're not really stealing it. They're just kind of hopping on. And if that's the case, then yeah, I think that kind of gives more of a team feeling, which again, in a game like Call of Duty and the fan base that it has, it's nice to see that they would promote something like that, because I think it's going to form some priceless moments, some good camaraderie. And I really do think Call of Duty can use all that it gets, because if anything, that's one of those aspects that it could always use more of, because it doesn't have enough, in my opinion. Too much bad blood in the fandom.
yeah, too much solo focus on solo play and everything. And another good thing that this does is it's good for those players that like never really get to experience what these certain score streaks are like. So if someone gets like the last thing on here, it says a paladin. I'm not entirely sure what it does, but if like you have some really awesome player on your team that gets that, and you're like, oh, I'm never going to be good enough to get that. Let me latch on and see what it looks like. And so it's a really good idea. When I first heard the term, like I heard a bit of what they were doing with this before I actually watched the multiplayer reveal. All I really heard was the term cooperative score streaks. And the impression I got from that is that you choose like a buddy teammate, and you guys like combine your points to work towards score streaks together or something like that. That was my mind racing when I didn't know what they were actually doing. But what it actually is just partnering up or just going on to someone else's score streak when they have it out. And it kind of reminds me of like the battlefields and stuff, where you have like the different positions in the vehicles and stuff. Like if you're in a tank, like someone could be doing like the main cannon and driving it, and the other person's like doing a minigun on the side of it. It feels a little bit more like that.
Well, got nothing to say to that, really. I mean, you made the point pretty good, so I guess we'll end up having to see. But it does sound like a really good feature, and I look forward to seeing how it's going to be made.
Yep, it's looking really good. And some lesser features that I documented here. We have the virtual lobby, which is basically kind of like what Ghosts had going for it, in that you could basically scroll to the side when you're in like a match menu, and you can see like the player model of your opponents and your teammates and everything. But Advanced Warfare is kind of taking that to a whole other level. They have this whole like little area in the background of the menus, and it's like you're standing in this like factory type area, and you're just standing there, and there's your whole character all decked out, and it's a little more zoomed in and stuff too. It seems really focused on the character customization, which is a lot better than Ghosts as well. You can customize like every little detail, and it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun doing that.
Let's see. From what I'm looking at this, as far as the seeing everyone's player models, I mean, I guess it's all right. But seeing as how you can sort of see everybody when you're killing them in the game. I doubt it's really going to be that much of a deal, unless the details are like really specific as far as the colors and the type of army fatigues that you're wearing. But for the most part, I guess that's one of the lesser features that I guess it really isn't that important. I mean, I can see if this was like a fighting game like Soul Calibur, but we're talking like Call of Duty here. You're going to be a lot more concerned with trying to not die and kill other people than you are about how they look.
Well, I see where you're coming from, and like a lot of people have made this point, like when Ghosts came out with its character customization, it's like, oh yeah, too bad it's in first person and you can't see what your character looks like while you're playing. But these menus kind of like try and rectify that. And also, I see them using like a lot of like flashy materials. Like there's a lot of gold, and there's like you can even customize like what your exosuit itself looks like. Like the picture I'm looking at, he's got like a white exosuit with like red stripes on it. I mean, that's really gonna stand out. You're gonna notice some things about these characters at least, and just doing this virtual lobby thing where you can just like sit and appreciate the model right there. They're trying to make the character customization more worthwhile.
Although I will say that that can actually play against you if you're the wrong color on the wrong stage and you still got like a sore thumb and it's like, he's right there, everybody, get him!
But then Exocloak.
Yeah, if you have the exo cloak. I'm just saying, if you happen to be caught running around without it and you're like frickin' pink against like green, then it's gonna be like, oh shit. So, yeah, I mean, like, you're going to have to at least be somewhat conscious. You're still going to have to pick colors that are going to work. So, me, I'd probably go with something that's going to be sort of like an all-around color that works for everything. So, I'd probably go with something, I'd say like mid-gray would probably work for just about any situation and not get your butt cut out at the wrong place. I guess we'll see.
And they'll obviously give you the option to do that. And but you know, like the most cocky players are going to be the ones with like the pink exosuits and everything because they don't really care.
Yeah.
But so that's
that'll probably be demoralizing because it's like I got killed by a pink guy. But it's like it's gonna be more demoralizing in a funny way than it would be like oh, you're just shoving your status on me way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as I know, like the only way that you really get like customization items is through like the random supply drops, and they're probably in a random order, and so you couldn't really tell accomplishment from that either.
I would like it if you also have the option to build the customization on your own if you so wish. It would just take longer to get to the desired results, which would work well for me because then at that point you at least have a choice and you don't have to follow what they give you.
Well, yeah. And I believe they said like the supply drops come based on like the time that you've played. So like at like certain intervals in playtime, they'll just drop. That's how they made it sound, at least.
Now that I don't agree with because not everyone's going to be able to play at every given time of the day. So in my opinion, it makes more sense that the drops would be random. And I mean random as in they drop when certain requirements are met or whatever, but enough that it's like everybody gets a free shot because having them just drop at a specific time is just stupid because then it's punishing players who can't be on at the right time.
I would also kind of like it if they sort of went the road of some free-to-play shooters and stuff where they have like a first match of the day bonus where it's like you played this game for another day, here, have a supply drop.
I think there was a game that actually did that.
I know Loadout does that, and
I haven't played Loadout, but it was a game that I played that had a first game bonus, and I cannot for the life of me remember. But I did play a game like that.
I know League of Legends has like XP bonuses for that.
Oh, that was it. League of Legends. Yeah, that was the one that had that first game bonus, but only if you win, which is kind of annoying, but
it was the first win of the day, yeah.
Yeah.
But, alright, and the next feature here is something that I find really useless. The virtual firing range.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. I mean, like, when you see features like that in games like Mass Effect 3, and there's another really popular, it's like a first player shooter MMO that's out right now, and it has like three armies. I'm trying for the life of me. Planetside 2 has that as well. It has like a firing range. And
Hmm.
I'll tell you right now, having something like that to set you on a path for a gun that you're going to love, in my opinion, it's needed. Trust me. Having to go through all the guns and trying to use them during the matches just to get killed over and over again because you're still trying to figure it out is probably one of the most annoying things ever. So being able to determine the kind of gun that fits you before you go into the game, in my opinion, is going to help out a lot of people who are just getting into the game. Especially if they have a weapon preference and they want to make sure that the weapon that they would think would be a good weapon is going to be a good fit for them. Because then it also gives them sort of something to strive towards for unlocking, like it was the Black Ops 2, except in this case, you have something to go off of instead of just hearsay and video reviews. So I think it's a really handy attachment. You don't necessarily need to do it if you don't want to, but for me, this is like something that I would really enjoy. I've always been the kind of person that loves doing tests and using different guns, comparing rate of fire, comparing accuracy, comparing damage. It's just something that I enjoy doing, and then finding that perfect gun that just makes me like, feel like I'm in gun heaven. That's just a great feeling. So that's something that I know you're not excited about it, but I'm happy they put it in the game.
Well, let me give you some context on why I don't really like it. The first statement being, I enjoy having bots in first-person shooters, or just shooters in general, and I'm perfectly on board with giving like new players and stuff a chance to like test out weapons and things and find out what's right for them. But to me, that's what bots are for. And initially in the multiplayer reveal, they didn't announce anything about bots, and so I thought we were getting this instead. And while
See,
that's good,
I don't
I felt
necessarily
kind of.
agree with that because Team Fortress 2 tried that too, and I just felt like it was really sloppy because obviously they don't move the same as players. And I would much rather focus on getting used to the gun than trying to use it on a bunch of mobs that are running in a pattern that's nowhere near how a player is going to run. So,
Well,
in my opinion, I would prefer to like get used to the gun first, and then go against real players and use it. And if it doesn't turn out that way, I at least have something to compare it to. So then I could just change the gun that fits that situation better.
as time has gone on, in Ghosts, they tried to solve that problem with the bots not playing like actual players do. In Ghosts, you had bots that would freaking slide around, they would camp, they would do a lot of things that like regular players would do. But another like the main thing about playing with bots is you get to see how long it takes to actually kill players, to actually kill with the weapon. And in this virtual firing range, I don't see how that's possible. Unless they actually make it so these targets would go down in like the actual time. But it looks like you just shoot it and it goes away. It's more like it's more like testing to see like how fast the gun shoots and how the sights look and everything. But I think if you really want to test it out in action and see how quickly it can kill, then I think you really need the bots.
In my opinion, it's not just going to serve the noobs. It's also going to serve the min-maxers and the reviewers. Because I knew a guy who did reviews for Black Ops weapons, and he always had to use a wall. So having this shooting range for him to make comparisons to, that's going to help his videos out a lot once he starts doing videos for advanced warfare. Now, me personally, the benefit I see to it is, like I said, it's going to be good for the guys who really want to be on top of their guns, especially if they're in competitive play. They want to know exactly which weapons, and that's why I'm thinking that there's a possibility that the actual targets will have a health bar like they did in Mass Effect 3. Because that would make a lot of sense, because you're technically shooting the targets, which will be the equivalent of shooting people. So if it doesn't have a health bar, there's no way to determine it. But if it does, But then you can just watch that health bar, and you can determine by how many bullet shots it takes the kill ratio as far as like time to kill. That's what they like to use. So that could really factor into it.
Yeah,
Whether they're gonna do that or not, I don't know. I do think that health bars, if they're gonna use that mode, would help out a lot. Or some, like you said, some indicator to show the actual amount of damage, so that these people who are doing the recording or doing pro play for min maxing are going to have a specific idea of just how efficient the gun actually is.
let's hope they do it that way with the health bars, because that's like the only way it would make sense to me. But fortunately, though, a while after the multiplayer reveal, they did announce that there will be a bot mode. They're being like really official with it and calling it the Combat Readiness Program. That again like goes back to my things, like that's what bots are for. But it's like, since they're there, I will be using that mode to try out my guns personally.
Well, if it's anything like what you said with Ghosts, where they were more like the actual players, then I would probably have high hopes, assuming that Sledgehammer followed the same pattern as the other company did.
Right. And I mean, that made the bots and ghosts like really hard compared to other ones, but they were more realistic and authentic, and I guess that's why they were harder.
In this case, they're probably going to be even more difficult because now you're dealing with added options. Now you have to worry about energy weapons. Now you have to worry about them dodging. You have to worry about them killing you from above. You have to worry about them punching you across the screen. So there's a lot more that you're going to have to get used to. So having that kind of practice might actually come in handy, especially with all the added features, to get used to the mechanics without having to have your official score ruined.
That's another thing. The combat readiness program with the bots is going to be a lot better for learning the exo abilities, whereas the firing range probably has nothing with that.
Well, that wouldn't make any sense if it's a firing range. How are you going to be able to test out the drop? So yeah, I can see where the bots is more of an advanced sort of testing ground, sort of like an intermediate between the firing range and the actual matches.
Yeah.
So I do look forward to seeing how that all sort of relates to one another and seeing if those steps actually sort of help people step into the arena a lot better, or if it tends to be too complicated. I don't think it'll be complicated, but maybe some people won't use one step, they won't use the second step, but at least those options will be there. So if people choose to take all three steps, then good for them. If it helps them get better at the game, then let them do it.
Yeah. And now let's go on to talking about the maps. They revealed 4 multiplayer maps, and there's been 2 more revealed since then, but we don't really need to talk about those. Did you get to the point where you saw the maps?
Not yet, but I've seen some of them throughout the play, and a lot of them seem to be very popular settings. So that's really exciting. I actually look forward to that.
Yeah, and I want to mainly focus on the dynamic aspect of maps, which has been around for a little while. Black Ops 1 and 2 sort of hit on it, where you had the launch map in Black Ops 1, where the missile would fire and would kill anyone under it. You had the express map in Black Ops 2, where the train would randomly come through. This one, they showed off... well, first, I want to say Ghosts kind of took it on steroids, or tried to at least. They wanted to really plug dynamic maps, and they had the Strike Zone map that did a really good job, where you shoot a nuke and it changes the map entirely. But other than that, it was just like, hooray, you can close doors, or you can shoot down logs, and it wasn't all throughout. And from what I'm seeing in Advanced Warfare, though, it's looking like the dynamic elements are really awesome. Like, they showed off this one map that I'm looking at now called Defender, and it's this little bunker off the side of the Brooklyn Bridge. And about halfway through the map time, a tsunami comes in and just floods half of the map. And it's really awesome to look at. You just see this giant tidal wave coming at you, and you're like, oh dear God. And one of the new maps they showed off is set in Hawaii, where you're next to a volcano for some dumb reason, and halfway through the map, as you can imagine, the volcano starts erupting, and you literally, it opens up another half of the map, and you have to go to that side, and then they close off the first half. So it's just like, it suddenly takes you to another map halfway through.
So it's like you're fighting the map on top of fighting the players. That really sounds cool. I actually like that.
Yeah, and it's looking really well done when it is there, but it doesn't look like all of the maps have it, or at least on the same level all throughout. Because that was a huge problem in Ghosts. Like, people really liked the strike zone mechanic, and I did too. But other than that, there just wasn't anything really substantial. And we have like 2 good maps right here that are doing it. The other ones have like some little things, like the prison map. You earn a kill streak that turns on this like security system that like works like a UAV for you or something. And then another map, you can call in like the terminal's defense turret or something, and that comes up for you. And it's not too much different than like kill streaks you can already get, which I'm not very impressed with. But we haven't even seen like half of the maps yet. And so if we have something really substantial on 2 of them out of the box, then that's a pretty good start, at least.
Yeah.
Let's see. And as we were talking about before, the maps seem really lane-based, like Black Ops 2. Every time they describe the layout of a map, they're talking about lanes, they're talking about seamless areas to go through and things like that. So it seems like they're really doing the right thing with map design. And they're also talking about focus on like objectives and competitive play, which is all the right stuff you want to hear. Because it's all sounding like Black Ops 2, and Black Ops 2 was amazing, so...
What I find really funny about this is the sheer amount of people who love the setup for Modern Warfare 3, and it just so happens that I have to be one of the most vocal against that sort of setup. And the irony, like I said, is that Sledgehammer decided to go with more Black Ops 2 feel rather than the original Modern Warfare 3 feel, which they originally had a part in. Obviously, Infinity War was the one who made the multiplayer for it. But, like I said, the fact that they ended up trying to follow Black Ops 2 instead, despite the popularity of Modern Warfare 3, I find that hilarious. But at the same time, I find it a breath of fresh air. I mean, I would never want to have to deal with another Modern Warfare 3 style VPP again. Like, I'm done with that open sort of hallway where you're just wide open and anybody coming around a corner can pretty much pop you 2 times and you're dead. I was so sick of that. So if they don't ever go back to that, I'm not going to shed a tear. I'm definitely happy that they're keeping with this sort of feel that they did in Black Ops 2, where at least you have options to duck behind something. And in this case, you have the option to go up or, to the side. So you're not completely helpless running down a lane like you've always been. So there could be some pretty interesting fights. And I really look forward to that.
Right, and let me just say that you probably would have hated Ghosts. Because its maps felt more like Modern Warfare 3 than they did Black Ops 2. And that makes sense because that was Infinity Ward, and they made both Ghosts and Black Ops, and Ghosts and Modern Warfare 3. But it's so Sledgehammer deciding to go with Black Ops 2 though that's them just learning from mistakes that the other companies have made, because people like the competitive community really liked what Black Ops 2 did, and the competitive community really hated Ghosts. Like, a lot of people really hated Ghosts multiplayer, from the map design to like time to kill and so many other things. So they're learning from the Call of Duty community and what they feel about the games. And they're feeding off of that, and therefore they can make the right decisions.
Well, this is just that sort of time as far as gaming goes. where everybody felt that for the longest time that games were starting to finally hit that peak and start going downhill rapidly because all the good ideas seemed to have been taken and there was too many repeat games with not enough good standalone titles. And now, 2 years later or so, they are finally starting to kind of get the message, and a lot of these game companies are starting to finally listen to people because they realize that uh, the gaming industry is only going to be as successful as the people who are interested. And let's be honest, gaming fans are rabid. When it comes right down to it, you're going to have a lot of crazy bastards. And these people love to spend money, but they won't spend money on a franchise that has cheated them. So if people feel like that the gameplay is getting too stale and they're not getting enough of what they really want from something, they're not going to put the money out. You mean you're going to have the crazy ones who always do, or the ones who are just curious, but the ones who feel like they're not getting paid attention to, and believe it or not, that's still a good amount, are gonna like not put their money in. And it's those kind of people that are changing the minds of the gaming industry as a whole. And I think that that's part of what's going on with Advanced Warfare, because again, the last game before this was Ghost, and Ghost left a horrible impression. And we're not just talking about the fact that it tried to mimic Modern Warfare 3 because it's Infinity Ward and the narrow maps. We're talking about all the technical problems that the game had, how many times it crashed, just how crappy the entire game was. Although that was more of a PC problem, I don't think console had much of a problem with the crashes and the glitches. But again, it just wasn't a great Call of Duty. But I think that this game is a herald along with other games coming out like Witcher 3 and Dragon Age Inquisition. All games coming out very soon, either this year or the next, that are supposed to be a big sign of change that gaming industry is realizing if they don't change their ways and they don't start following what their fans want, they're going to find themselves tossed to the curb and they're going to have gotten hit hugely. And then they're going to end up going the way of Capcom. They're not going to have money anymore because they made stupid choices and didn't listen. Because, let's face it, as crazy as some gamers are, their opinions are what make them money. If they're not listening, people are eventually going to get the clue and realize they're not getting paid attention to. So, that's just it. I mean, why follow a system that has been proven to not be effective? They want to take a system that works and they want to improve it. And that's the point of this game, in my opinion.
Right, and it's astounding to think of just like how powerful gaming has become in like the past 20, 30 years. And it's just really impressive just how far we've come in just like determining and just like gaining influence from the community itself. And it should be noted that like the PC version of Ghosts, from what I've heard, is just terrible. I'm pretty sure only like 10% of people could play it. It wasn't like it wasn't like a tech requirements issue. Like people had like a build that was way better than the requirements to run it, and it was just poorly made. I've just been feeling lately like the past few Call of Duties, they've shifted their focus to console gaming, and they just don't really care so much about PC anymore. But Infinity Ward said that they were focusing on like PC development, and then look
And
what
that's
happened.
the problem. When you have the crappy company that's dealing with the PC, then you wonder why the PC players don't want to get involved. If it was the other companies, it wouldn't be so bad. But you're talking about probably, in my opinion, the worst Call of Duty company to have ever worked on any Call of Duty, and they're the ones trying to appeal to PC. It's no wonder that PC gamers aren't getting the Call of Duties. I mean, they would have such a great competitive scene if they cared. But then there's the whole excuse that, oh, well, you can't afford a good gaming PC, which is a load of horse crap. When I had gotten my PC, adding on the costs of how much it took to upgrade the computer, my actual gaming computer, which can play pretty decent graphics, it was a total of about $500 to $600, which isn't that much more than the new age consoles. And you also have to consider, I don't just play what's on a specific console. I can play older games. I can play games spanning all the way back to the 90s because it's a PC. I have much more choice, and on top of that, I'm sorry to say it, it's a lot easier to learn these kind of games on a keyboard and mouse. You are an exception. You played it on the console for a long time, so it's going to be more comfortable for you. But guaranteed, anybody who's going to get into these games, they're going to learn quicker on a mouse and keyboard if given the opportunity. But again, this whole lie that you have to get a console because it's more affordable is stupid. Maybe back in the day when computers were gigantic pieces of hardware, but now you have so many options for building these computers off-site with other people and getting warranties for them for about as much as you pay for a console. There's no excuse. There should be far more PC FPS players, especially given the capabilities that you can obtain from being a PC gamer over a console gamer. So really, it's not the fault of the PC community that Activision chose to ignore PC gamers. It's because people keep buying into the fact that it's too expensive to get a gaming computer, so they'd rather buy the console. So the actual percentage is largely in favor of the console gamers, even though, let's be honest, if you put most PC gamers, like some of the worst, against some of the best console gamers, they probably have about an even time because the level of movement and reactivity on the PC is just better. And I hate to turn this into a PC and console war and trying to bash the consoles. I'm just saying when it comes to shooters, I really do think that PC shooters should be getting a lot more respect than they actually are because they're getting treated like crap by the competitive community, and I don't think it's fair. I think they have so much potential, and I think that we need to stop spreading this lie that you have to have a console to be a good competitive shooting gamer. It's stupid. We need to get rid of this stupid notion because I'm a PC fan, and I have fun on the PC. I don't think it's fair that I get to be denied the chance to be in competition because I'm a PC player. It's stupid. I think I could kick all their asses because of the experience that I've racked or the natural skill that I have on it. But that's just my personal opinion. Like I said, I don't think throwing PC gamers to Infinity Ward is a good idea. And I think Activision needs to relook at how they're treating PC gamers. Because they're treating console gamers just fine. If this game is any indication, they're giving them what they want. But it's time that they start paying attention to PC gaming as well, because it's just as powerful. We just need to be given a chance.
Right, and Sledgehammer 2 has said that they're focusing on PC development as well as PS4 and Xbox One development, and so I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that it's going to be better than Ghosts at least. But I mean, honestly, the only like PC Call of Duty that's worked pretty well for me is Black Ops 1. I've tried a bunch of them, and I had issues with Black Ops 2, and I tried Ghosts during free weekends, and it wouldn't even start up. And so it's probably true that my main issue with, like, the reason that playing Call of Duty with a mouse and keyboard feels so strange to me is just because they're really bad ports all throughout. But we'll see this time around.
Alright, so I guess the next thing that we were going to talk about according to your list is the new and the old modes changed up. Capture the Flag, Search and Destroy, and Hardpoint are back. War's back is momentum.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion on that, good. I think it was stupid that they removed those modes. I think it's good that people have variety, especially Capture the Flag, which is iconic in almost any shooting game.
Right.
So it's like having these extra options when you don't want to play the usual is always a good thing. I'm not sure if everyone's going to use every single mode, but again, more choice is always a good thing. As long as those modes are done and true to form, then I think that people are going to get a kick out of them.
Right, and this is just another example of Sledgehammer paying attention to the community and choosing Black Ops 2 over Modern Warfare 3 and Ghost mechanics. Well, not necessarily Modern Warfare 3, but choosing Black Ops 2 mechanics over Ghost mechanics. Because, notably, instead of Capture the Flag, Ghost tried to replace Capture the Flag with this mode called Blitz that involved portals and like immediate captures, or instant captures, I guess is the word I want to use. And just people just weren't happy with it. Ghosts didn't have search and destroy out of the box. It had search and rescue instead, which added like kill confirmed mechanics into it, which I actually find pretty fun. But they listened to the community at least a little, and they added search and destroy back in later. But just Sledgehammer having all these modes in here at the start are really good. I'm a little worried about this new mode uplink that they introduced. It kind of looks like modes that have been done before in like Halo and the Conduit games. Generally it looks fun, but I'm just worried about this one little mechanic that they showed off when introducing the mode in the multiplayer reveal. They said someone who's running with the orb can toss it at an enemy, and then that enemy has to hold it, rendering them weaponless for a short amount of time, leaving the person who was originally carrying it to just be able to kill him. And I say, fuck that.
That does sound really stupid, but I think they're mostly just trying to have similar mechanics to other Capture the Flag. I know it's not always the case, but some games have had it to where they will either take away some of your capabilities or a lot of them, and you're just basically running it. But I guess that's supposed to add more of a strategical element to it, where the players need to be able to get around that person and protect them, which is usually how it works to Capture the Flag. If you're not paying attention to the person who's holding the orb, or whatever it is that you need to get to the next point, then you're kind of a shit team, and you're probably going to lose. So that's just how the ball rolls in this particular case. I guess, like I said, it's going to test people's teamwork. And really, if you're not playing anything, if you're playing something other than the basic kill the other guy in front of you mode, then yeah, you're probably going to have to focus more on teamwork. That's kind of how it works.
Yeah, just what's so often the issue in team games though is you get terrible teams. And just it's been a while since there's been a game that's well, I'll narrow it down to a shooter. It's been a while since there's been a shooter that's actually had really excellent matchmaking.
Most shooters, I just tend to go do my own thing, and if it ends up being something that can go with what someone else is doing, then great. But I've never gotten high up enough in the tiers or with a clan or anything like that to where I could honestly say that I had a team effort. So again, I feel like this game's going more in the route of trying to promote a team environment, which would be good provided that they also don't baby you or try to accommodate you too much. As long as the game gets you in and the learning curve is manageable, but overall you still need to be good to get to the top, that's fine. But I don't want to be weighed down by bad teams like I was in League of Legends, because that had to be one of the worst experiences for teams I've ever had. You can seriously never see the light of day of anything major in that game if you keep getting bad teams. Like you guaranteed you would have to at least have had three other players that you know on your team constantly practicing to be able to get high enough in the rankings. Otherwise, you would always bomb yourself because chances are, if there was three or less of you, you'd always get those two jerks in the bottom lane who would always throw bottom lane, feed the freaking 80 carry, and get everybody on your team killed horribly. And that's the kind of thing that it's like, while it's never necessarily been crippling to have a bad team per se in the basic kill modes, I can see how that would be crippling in the modes where you need the team to work together to protect the person carrying the flag or doing the objectives. So seeing a game that, in my opinion, that's going to put focus on that means it's going to make the most use of those modes. But the question is it going to work on the Call of Duty community? If it can do that and work with them and create camaraderie, then we're going to see, in my experience, it's going to be a new age for Call of Duty, which is exactly what it needs. Because in my opinion, keeping the status quo the way it's always been is just not going to cut it, in my opinion. We need to start embracing new gamers. Because down the line, those gamers, these gamers that are pro right now, they're going to be like, what, 50 years old? We need to make sure that new gamers are welcomed with open arms. Not tell them, get wrecked, scrub, or some BS like that. We have to nurture the environment for them to improve. Not give them everything, but give them the opportunity to develop themselves in different ways in these games. And I'm hoping that this is what that game will do.
Yeah, and I agree with you that Call of Duty really needed to change. I mean, every now and then I see someone commenting, it's like, I just want the regular Call of Duty multiplayer that was back in, like, Modern Warfare 2 days and stuff, and I'm like, what? Are you crazy? Because, like, the other, like, 99% of people in the world hate Call of Duty because it's the same thing over and over again. And so, and to me, that's, like, the main complaint.
It could be worse. It could be Madden.
Yeah, I know. It's like I always see people complaining about like buying the Call of Duty every year, and it's like you get like every FIFA, and so how is that any different? If anything, that's worse. But people don't. They use this as like a catalyst or like a scapegoat, and they just only apply it to this thing, and they don't want to look at the things that they like.
Yeah.
And going back to what you were saying about the teamwork in League of Legends, it's like that's like the big conundrum with like games that really emphasize teamwork. It's just like the more they emphasize teamwork, just the worse an experience it is when the team is bad. And so it just can't be that focused on it.
I agree. The teamwork aspect needs to be something that is learned offhand. It needs to be something that you work yourself into and that it's not enforced on you. But at the same time, it needs to feel rewarding. And I feel that was probably the biggest problem. I feel like it enforced teamwork too much, but there were enough situations where players really got to understand exactly why it was so important. And that's what games with teamwork need to focus on, not necessarily enforcing the thing that it's like, okay, you need to have teamwork. They need to build upon the factors that lead into needing teamwork. And then people will pick up and go, oh, it's fun, so that's how you do it. And they'll eventually get used to it. It'll be something that's natural. They'll basically end up being team members without realizing it, rather than feeling like they're being forced to play with a bunch of people they hate.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, and I agree. I really think that's how it should be. Let's see. We're gonna skip the whole little esports thing, and let me just go down to this whole Day Zero edition. Since you didn't watch the whole multiplayer reveal, you probably didn't catch that part.
Mm-hmm.
Basically what it's doing is like so the release date for this was going to be on November 4th, but now they're doing this Day Zero edition where on November 3rd if you pre-ordered the game, you'll supposedly get it, even if it was like a hard copy, which doesn't really make sense to me. And you'd get 1, 24-hour early access to the game. 2, you get double XP. 3, you get like 2 new weapons, and then you'd also get like the regular pre-order bonus of the advanced arsenal, which is the gold exosuit stuff, and you get this unique looking weapon, which I think is just like a gold camo weapon. I'm just really struggling and wrapping my head around this idea of the day zero thing, especially like if you get it from like the PlayStation Store and stuff, and you just download it on the system. I understand how it works then, but they're doing it for like hard copies of the game too, and there I'm not sure how it's really working. It basically just changes the release date to like a day before, and it's just, I'm just really not getting it.
Sajin, I gotta say, you haven't been paying attention then. Plenty of games have done this all the time. It's nothing new. It's just continuing the tradition of trying to bait people who are really hardcore about the series into spending more money that they really don't need to, just to say that they got 24-hour access earlier. And that's really what it is. And then giving a few trinkets on top of it. Really, it's just a way for people who have the extra money and really want the game to say that they got it before their other friends who decided to wait the extra 24 hours. That's all it is. It's just a big dick-waving thing, and it's nothing new. It's happened with many other games prior. This is just another game to do it. So really, it's a choice. Do you want to spend the extra money just for the bragging rights, or do you want to be patient, wait the extra 24 hours, miss out on some of the features, but pretty much get the same freaking game? And I agree with you. Like, I wouldn't personally put the money out for the Day Zero edition. I'm not so much of a hardcore Call of Duty fan that I could put that kind of money out to begin with, just for some extra little goodies that in the long run don't mean that much. But I know other people would. There's going to be people who are in the market for something like that. That's why they've always done it. And the sad truth is that there will always be people who will do that. There will always be people who will spend the money, because even if they're pissed off about it, they're going to do it because, I'll feel stupid if I don't do it. I'll miss out on the opportunity for something that I otherwise wouldn't have gotten the chance to do. And while I'm all for risks, you're pretty much getting the same freaking game with a few extra things that are mostly just for show. And a little bit of experience boost, but we're all going to get to in-game at some time, so does it really matter? I mean, if you want to pay for the extra experience boost, you can probably do that. You can do it in, I think, Black Ops 2, you can naturally pay for it without having to pay for the early release version. It's really just a choice if you want to do that or not. But, like I said, you and I, we decide it's the same game. What's the point of spending the extra money? Unless it's something that's really worth getting. Like, if they have some kind of full 3D animation movie that has something with the story, and the story was a really good story, like it was like kick-ass and fun to watch, like the Mass Effect anime, then I would probably say, yeah, it's worth it. But if we're talking about just basic shit in the game that you could probably purchase a DLC later on, what the hell's the point? I mean, yeah, I'm sorry. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, the principle of the thing, though, is that, like, if enough people pre-order the Day Zero edition and this becomes, like, a recurring thing, then doesn't Day Zero just become Day One? Like, the whole thing is that they're plugging it as though it's like you're getting the game a day before you're supposed to.
The thing is that people are always going to be gullible, and they're always going to pay for stuff that they don't really need. Let's talk about the Metal Gear Solid that recently came out that was supposed to just be the demo. And they had the freaking nerve to charge $40 for something that can be completed anywhere between 2 to 6 hours. That's it. 2 to 6 hours for a demo that was getting charged almost as much as a full game. They eventually lowered it down to 20 because they realized that paying that much for a 2 to 6 hour demo is BS. No one should have to pay like maybe 20 short of full game price for a demo. Yet people were stupid enough to buy that crap. And it just shows that if you're a hardcore, stupid enough fan, you will buy anything from the person that provides, even if it's short, and even if it doesn't, demand that much money, as far as the quality or the content or the time invested in the game, they're going to buy it. And that's just exactly what Day Zero is. It's a bait for the people who are those hardcore fans who just can't wait. They'd rather, prove how big of a fan they are. Because they, like I said, they either have the money to squander or it's that big of a deal to them. For us, we enjoy the game, but we don't need to buy every little trinket to enjoy it. And I don't think that's a crime. I don't think that it's a bad thing that we want to save a little money.
Right, and I myself, like, coming from a background where I'm used to, like, story modes in games that take like 30 plus hours to complete, and then hearing about Metal Gear Solid, and I remember back when the Xbox One initially came out, that Rise Son of Rome game, and that supposedly only takes like 6 to 8 hours to finish. That's like really disgraceful.
It's a bad habit that I think a lot of the gaming industry is starting to realize has rubbed the fans the wrong way. So a lot of the companies have started to try and make gameplay, as far as the time invested into it, a lot longer. I tried to make the justification that they initially made short games for the new consoles to test their capabilities out, because obviously when they made I think it was when they first made either the PS2 or the PS3, I'm not 100% sure. I think it was the PS3 actually. When they first made it, that thing overheated so much, and the actual engine could not handle the games because the games were so over the top. The graphics were so intense, it actually slowed the games down. So the thing was, is they realized from their first mistake they cannot go full blow with a game. They need to make sure that the game can handle the graphics and handle so much information being put into it. So I can kind of forgive them for not making long, blown-out games when PlayStation 4 came out, because they were just being safe and making sure that the graphics work. Now, if they kept pushing out the short games after the initial launch, knowing that it could handle more, then I can see why people are annoyed. But again, I think that the developers are starting to see the flaws, that they are capable of making these longer games, and they don't need to make the short games anymore. So they're working on that. So we'll probably be seeing a much higher caliber of games come 2015.
Okay, that makes sense. Alright, and just to finish up here, in summation, is Advanced Warfare worth a pickup? Or are you going to try and get it at least?
As far as what I've been saying and what we've been talking about, this definitely seems to be the upbeat, because Call of Duty has a habit of doing that. One bad game, one good game. So Black Ops 2 was the good one, and then Ghost was the bad one. So now we're at the trend where we're at Advanced Warfare, so it's time for Call of Duty, I think, in my opinion, as far as trend would go, to be good again. So is it worth a pickup? I say with everything that I'm seeing, if they can get it launched without any major problems and it's everything that it lives up to be, I'd say it's pretty much Black Ops 2 plus. And there's no reason at that point not to pick it up, because at that point, like I said, it's just Black Ops 2 with extra stuff. Why would you need to play Black Ops 2? Because it's just the new version of it. So yeah, worth a pickup. I'm going to give it a thumbs up for now. But my opinion might change when it releases, and then we might be talking a different tune. But we'll see.
Yeah, there's always that sort of pattern that you notice where there's so much hype put out for these games, and then they come out and people aren't as happy with them as they should be. Gets old after about 6 months
Oh
or
Jesus,
so, and
that
then
was like the story of Wildstar. That was the most overhyped, disappointing piece of crap MMO I have ever played.
the
It was just
disappointing
another, huh?
the disappointing part was it was still subscription based, and that's been dead.
Disappointing. Oh, come on. It's not even the subscription part. It's the fact that it was just another brainless, button smashing NC Soft product. The only thing to come from NC Soft that was worth anything was its superhero games. City of Heroes, City of Villains, and DC Universe. Those were all great games. The only ones that I would recommend from NC Soft. Everything else that's come from those people, as good as it looks, for what they were able to produce anyway, I mean, Wildstar was just, I don't know. I feel like they put so much more heart and spirit into the CGI and the telling of the classes and all this humor and lore. And then you play the game and there's no heart to it like there was in the advertisement. It just feels dead. It feels like I could play World of Warcraft and get much more enjoyment out of it because World of Warcraft at least has structure. At least you can build something and you know you're building something that makes sense. When you're trying to build stuff in WildStar, it's like, really? That doesn't even make any sense. You have to guess most of the time. I don't like having to play guesswork. I like being told, this is what this is for. This is what this is for. And then everything falls into place and makes sense. And yeah, you know what? It sounds mechanically boring, but when you're fighting shit, it's so fast paced, you don't even pay attention. You just get used to it and it feels comfortable and you can enjoy the fight. You can't do that with Wildstar because you're so busy trying to deal with every single move that they give you. And they give you a new move every other level. And that's a huge problem. You don't need that many abilities. And they made the opposite mistake with Guild Wars 2, where they give you pretty much all your abilities at the beginning. So you can unlock all your abilities before you even hit level 10. And then you have nothing to work for. And the story mode was utter BS because you had to continuously make like eventually you'd have to go like 6 to 8 levels before you could continue the story. Are you kidding me? I mean, at least with Wildstar they fixed that and the story's pretty much always there now. But it still doesn't excuse the game for feeling so detached from what was advertised. So, that's kind of why I play Final Fantasy XIV. And yeah, I'm getting kind of off topic here, but you just sort of like struck that nerve when you mentioned that. So I had to get that off my chest.
Yeah, and hype hardly ever works out, but
yeah,
how the continuation of the Call of Duty pattern works is that when the hype dies for the newest one, they go back to the previous one and realize it's amazing, which the people who played Ghosts and didn't know Black Ops 2 was amazing already, they went and did that. And So we may get some holy crap, Ghosts was an amazing game after this comes out or something, I don't know. But hopefully not. I mean, it's looking like all the right decisions are being made. It looks like they have the right passion. They know what's being asked of them and they're just going right down the right path. It's the change the series needed with the constant mechanics and balance that it really needs to. It looks like it's going to work out. And while I'm a little disappointed to have found out a while back that it's not coming to the Wii U this time around, I'll just be getting it for PS4, and we'll just play it whenever I can, which won't be a whole lot since my brother's taken that with him to his dorm, but I will try and find the time to do it, because it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, if I can't pick it up immediately, let me know how it works out for you.
All right, I will do that. There might be mixed signals though because the PC version might not be on the same level. But I'll be sure and do some research on that and see how it's looking,
All right.
so
Sounds
you don't
good.
waste your money. All right. Well, that's it for this episode of Sajincast. I certainly hope it's not too long to upload to YouTube. Um, Next time around, it's looking like we're gonna do Hyrule Warriors reactions, because that is coming out at the end of this month. Um, was hoping to do this several weeks earlier, but been very busy. And I missed a whole month before that where I was going to talk about the Star Fox that got confirmed for Wii U. But oh well. We'll figure I'll figure something out for that. But thank you very much, Flo, for doing this with me. I appreciate your comments.
You're very welcome. Of
I hope you had fun and enjoyed yourself.
course, this was really great.
Alright. Well, that is it, everyone. I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.